My husband of 42 years is a racist. And I have a granddaughter who is dating a black man. And I am stuck in the middle. I either ostracize my family by not inviting them to events like Easter, or I disobey my husband.
And are other people in the family in agreement with your husband, Becky, that they don't want this man invited? Just your husband?
Yep.
Has he always been like this?
Did you know?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know how bad it was in the beginning. He's a Vietnam vet, so he had a lot of dealings in Vietnam with groups like Black Panthers.
Okay.
So, and he said they weren't trustworthy in combat. So he's developed this strong, and I've never walked in his shoes. Okay, never walked in his shoes. But
so you understand him because of his history of what he's been through. It's understandable to you, although you dislike his current stance.
Yeah,
I see.
Exactly.
Does he have any awareness that it's problematic and he stereotypes way too much?
Yes, and he doesn't care. And he said, "You never dealt with him. I did."
Becky, I'm curious.
He is a Christian. And I tell him all the time, you better learn to like them because there's going to be a lot of them in heaven.
Becky, I'm curious of the statement that you made. You said you either will be disrespecting your husband if you disagree with him.
He does not want him in our house.
No. But my question is about the disrespect.
That the husband feels.
Yes. Do you believe that you're disrespecting him by having a different view, by having a different opinion, by having different desires, because it's your house too and your family too? Do you believe that it's a disrespect? No. Okay.
No. The disrespect would be if I ignored his request and invite my family to come and spend like Easter dinner with us. And my granddaughter brings a boyfriend along. It's going to get ugly. They don't know that he's like this.
But he'll be rude and mistreat the young man if he comes?
They'd kick him out.
He would kick him out of your home?
Wow.
Oh, but your family doesn't know this?
No, they
about
do
your
not
husband.
know that. No.
Okay, so now I'm understanding. So you're kind of managing a ticking time bomb, I think.
Yeah.
Of eventually family are going to say, hey, your granddaughter's going to say, hey, I want to introduce you to my new boyfriend. And it's, there's only so many excuses that you can make of not being around or not being able to come over. That's what it sounds like is happening, is you're managing a bomb that inevitably is going to go off and people are going to find out how your husband thinks and feels. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think that you should do? Curious.
I would like to just say, this is my house too. You can be here when they come or you can go. But he's not in good health. So I'm trying to keep stress levels down because of his health. He is going to be 76. He's dealing with a lot of health issues.
And what's the worst thing that's going to happen, Becky, because it sounds like inevitably your family is going to find out. What do you think the worst thing is going to be? Is your family going to ostracize your husband because of his thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And how do you feel about that? Because you're not the cause of that. That's him.
Heartbroken. But I'm collateral damage.
Yeah.
I'm collateral damage. If they don't want to have anything to do with him, where does that leave me?
Well, would that include them not having anything to do with you, or you feel stuck in the middle because then if you go and you engage with them, then your husband then tells you that you're disrespecting him?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And is he an abrasive, angry man in general? Does he get upset with people for other reasons too?
He has low tolerance issues. For some, he's mellowed out a lot as he's gotten older. He's mellowed out a lot. He will not budge on this, and I just really don't know what to do.
Well, we're going to come up to a break in a minute here, Becky, but it sounds like you're going to have to choose a side here. You're going to have to choose, where do your values fall, and what are you willing to take a stand for? So we're going to come back to you after the break, but I want you to start to think about that.
Mm. And it's interesting because my first thought would be, well, why don't you just have this Easter gathering at somebody else's home? But that doesn't deal with the issue. Yeah. That doesn't deal with the problem, because you might come home after the get-together and then he's going to say, was he there? Or something like that. And then...
Well, the family doesn't know yet. And so the family's going to find out at some point here, point soon. Yeah, what are your values and where are you willing to land?
I am not a prejudiced person. There are good and bad people in every race and creed in the world. And if I were to go somewhere else, like for a family get-together, like Easter, that could be the last Easter that I ever have with him, because his health is poor. Do I want to live with that?
Yeah, this is a difficult situation, Becky. I mean, ultimately, it sounds like you're going to have to choose. And you're going to have to choose, where are you going to land? Is it going to be with your husband, who you don't know how long he's going to live, and possibly be ostracized from your family? Or are you going to choose your family and then having to go home to an angry husband who tells you you're disrespecting him? Now, I would just, for your purposes, reframe. Even though he's going to tell you that you're disrespecting him, you can't respect the something that is not respectable. You know, Steve Arterburn would say this often: you can't honor the dishonorable. So even though he says that to you, and you may not change his mind, you can know inside of yourself what you believe and what is right. And I encourage you to choose your values, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to live with your choice.
Becky, I would suggest that you tell your husband, I understand why you're opposed to certain groups of people, because you went through horrible experiences with groups of people. And so now you assume the worst, maybe for your safety. I understand that. But it doesn't work for me not to interact with our granddaughter's boyfriend. I am going to choose to interact with him. And I hope you'll join me in choosing that. But I understand you probably can't right now. Would you come to a counseling sessions with me for us to try to figure this out in a way that might work for both of us? Because this situation as it is, it's not working for me right now. If you propose that to him, how do you think he'd respond?
He would never do counseling. We adopted 3 special needs kids who had issues beyond anybody's imagination, and have spent the last 12, 13 years in counseling with those kids, and he feels that it did absolutely nothing.
And would he speak with a pastor instead?
Maybe, but he's not even well enough to go out.
I'd invite a pastor over. You said he's a Christian man and that his faith is important to him. So when we are facing something we can't change, we're to address it individually, then we're to bring in a witness with us to help. So I'd ask the pastor, I'd explain to the pastor privately and invite him to come over, but I would still say that first part I mentioned to your husband first. I want to try to resolve this in a way that works for both of us, but I will be choosing to get to know our granddaughter's boyfriend, whether it's in our home or somewhere else. Somewhere else might work better than in the home for the sake of preserving relationship with your husband. But tell your husband what you're going to do, invite him to join you, and then accept that he may reject your invitation. But bring the pastor in to try to help with that.
Well, and Becky, I encourage you to be proactive with your family members, to let them know what is going on. Because Yes, because otherwise, when it all
Like
comes
warn them
out,
ahead of time.
yes, because or just to tell them what's happening, why you haven't invited them over yet, or why your husband's not coming to events, or why you may not have gone to events, so that they can understand. So they're not going to assume that you're falling on his side and that you are also racist too. It's difficult to have these conversations and to reveal these things about our loved ones, but at the end of the day, this is not your values, Becky. This is not what you're choosing. And sometimes people have to, we do. We have to live the consequences of our actions until we realize, the pain of those consequences is greater than the pain of change.
Becky, stay on the line. We're going to send you a copy of the book Boundaries, which is also available at newlife.com.